the different types of hair transplants that I got done and all that. And it's not a perfect solution by any means, you know. If I had to do it over again, I probably would have tried a hair system first just to kind of see what my hair would even look like, you know, beforehand.
What's going on, everybody? Today we have David DeMuzio, who is another YouTuber. You got to go check out his channel. He does a lot of stuff that's related to music, but also, interestingly enough, does content related to hair loss, hair transplants, all sorts of fun stuff. How are you doing today, Mr. DeMuzio?
Yeah, great, man. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. So everybody at home, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. This conversation has actually been like probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months in the works. We've had this conversation 4 times and the universe is just not with us. So we're getting it finally locked in. Man, I'm really excited to hear for the 15th time your story with hair loss. I mean, you look great. You have great hair. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey here.
So yeah, I started going bald when I was probably around 20 or so. And my dad was bald, like total zero hair on the top of his head. Maybe I'll send you a picture in case you want to include it, but no hair. And he always told me that I was going to go bald, and I partially blame him for my going bald because maybe psychologically it influenced me in some way.
That.
But either way, psychologically or genetically, it happened. And when it first happened, I first shaved my head. That was the first thing that I did. And at that time, Minority Report starring Tom Cruise had just come out, and Tom Cruise is my all-time favorite actor, and he had like a shaved head, like a buzz cut in that movie. And I was like, he looks great with that, so I'm gonna shave my head. So I did that, and I think Justin Timberlake, not long after that too, he was doing like the shaved head thing. So it was like kind of in, and yeah, so I continued with that for a long time, and then it kind of started getting worse. So I didn't just have a shaved head and kind of receding hairline. Like, I started noticing in the back, you know, in the crown, that was going too. And that it was really, even with the kind of buzz cut, like it was now becoming much more noticeable how bald I was. And I would look, you know, in the little mirrors in the elevators that have all the different mirrors I could see. I was like, oh shoot, it's getting really bad. Then I'd moved to the Philippines and had just released an album there that was doing really well. A pretty big hit song called Naiisip Mo Ba, which is a Filipino for Do You Think About Me? And I was at the Mixed Music Awards, which was like the MTV Music Awards of the Philippines. And I kind of like noticed a little bit of pushback here and there in the music industry, entertainment industry in the Philippines for me kind of being like a little bit older looking than they wanted me to be, or like something felt a little off, you know. But anyway, you know, I was doing okay. I was at the music awards, and my crush, who is a girl named Yang Constantino, she's called the pop rock princess of the Philippines, and that night she won a ton of awards. She actually came and sat right next to me there at the award show, and I was like, hey, wow, like I get to meet my crush, you know. And I sang her one of her songs. I was like, hey, I'm a huge fan of yours, and you know, I know all your songs by heart. And I sang her this Filipino song, and she's like, wow, how do you know my song? You're so old looking. And and she didn't say old looking. She goes, you're so old. And you know, she was expecting, because she was, I don't know, 20 at the time or something like that. She was like, how does this old guy know my songs? And that really, like, yeah, it hit me hard. And that was the first time anyone had really like directly said that to me. And the thing is about Asia, and I just moved to the Philippines probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before that, people are more honest about looks in Asia. You'll notice that, like, if you go to China, like I've had straight guys come up to me in China and literally like feel my arms and go, wow, like I love your muscles. And they're totally straight dudes, but they just say what they're thinking about looks. And you know, I many times as I've gained and lost weight over the years in Asia, had people go, wow, you look way fatter than you did, or you look way too skinny, or they're like much more likely to say this to you. And so it wasn't like that culturally inappropriate for her to tell me that I looked old. It was just kind of yes, saying what you think about somebody's looks.
But obviously that
So
hit a little bit closer to home than what you probably expected.
yeah, and I was noticing like already this pushback on the way that I looked, and I felt like it had something to do with my hair. And I to be honest, I know at this point that it did. I know that it did. So I was a very confident person, as you know, like I said, my career is like doing okay there. But I was like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? So I thought I'll just like shave this completely, like Vin Diesel kind of style, you know. And then I got off. So I got off like finasteride and minoxidil and everything at that point, because I was like on that. I'd gotten on that, and I went to. No, so like that went on like, I don't know, 6 months or so like that, and I was losing like even more hair, it looked even worse. and so then I thought about the hair transplant thing, and oh no, sorry, the hair transplant thing was first. Okay, yeah, now I remember. I got off of the finasteride and minoxidil because I had actually gone to a hair transplant surgeon there in the Philippines, and I went and I like took a look at his work. He like lived, his like office was walking distance from where I was living, and so I went there and I saw his before and after pictures, and they looked horrible. They looked like horrific.
Really?
You know, I couldn't believe that somebody was presenting this as their work and what I could potentially look like. So at that point, that's when I got off of finasteride minoxidil, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna bick it and just go Vin Diesel style, and like that's the thing. And honestly, I'd never even thought about hair systems. Like I didn't know people did that, really, you know, like the old Hollywood guys, the Frank Sinatras and these kind of guys, like they didn't mention that, or I don't know, it totally wasn't in my mind, like, oh, I could get a hair system.
Yeah.
Like that's even an option.
I mean, it was completely hidden for the most part. I mean, William Shatner in Star Trek the entire time was wearing if you want to call it toupee, hair system, whatever it was at the time. Sean Connery as James Bond. Burt Reynolds. Like, all these crazy sex icons that, you know, everyone wanted to be, they were all doing this, and it was hidden, it was tucked away, still is tucked away. So I mean, makes sense.
So yeah, at that time there wasn't much YouTube. Like YouTube was just a kind of a place where there was a few little funny videos and some guys doing cover songs on their like cell phone video. Like it wasn't a thing yet. Like Boyce Avenue was like really high tech because they had decent looking video on for their cover songs, you know. So I don't know, go by like a year or two, and I'm on YouTube and I notice this surgeon, and he's like got some actually decent looking videos of like these hair transplants. I don't know how I came across it, but I thought, oh wow, this actually looks pretty good. This doesn't look as bad as that other thing. So I ended up flying there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and get this hair transplant thing. And to be honest, I went into it way more blind than I should have. But at this, I don't know, I felt very comfortable with the consultant. I don't know, I just got like all the right feeling from him. And he's still a good friend of mine to this day. So there was like, that was a good decision. So I got that hair transplant done, and yeah, I remember, I mean, right after that, I had gone on this date with the #1 dancer in the Philippines, and she's won every single dance competition in the Philippines, right? And we went on a date that was back, you know, when I was more bald, and it was fun. We got along, like personality wise, like good and everything, but we went on a date then, I don't know, 6 months after I got my hair transplant or something. So, and I remember walking like exactly where I was, walking to the shopping mall after we got some ice cream together, and I was like, hey, do you notice anything different about me? And she's like, yeah, you look way better. And we ended up hooking up that night, and like it was amazing. And like, maybe now you can't monetize this video, but who knows what hooking up even means?
I don't
right?
know. You were fishing hooks. You were like fishing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we went fishing together and caught fish.
Nice. Hopefully they were big fish.
Mine was big.
Oh boy.
So it was just like a different thing. And I like that same trip, I think there was like this really hot like college girl, you know, that also like I started dating, and like it just everything, I noticed things changing, you know, and I don't really think it had a lot to do with a confidence thing. Like I said, I mean, I always had these talents, music, and I, you know, I was hopefully a pretty personable person. I really think it was the difference of a hairline. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But like, just the difference of like, you look like this, and it just changes people's entire first impression of who you are, you know? And yeah, if you look at, I often tell people, like, name, you know, 5 rock stars who became rock stars when they were bald, like totally bald. Like, there's really only the dude from Vertical Horizon and Chris Daughtry. I think that's it. Like, in all of the history of music, you know, like even Smashing Pumpkins guy, like he had hair when they first became popular. The Judas Priest guy, he had hair when they first became popular. Like, literally, it's like, so did Joe Satriani. Like, the only 2 people that ever became popular, and how long did they stick around for? Vertical Horizon, like 1 album basically, and Chris Daughtry, like 1 or 2.
Don't talk about Vertical Horizon bad, man. That's actually like one of my childhood albums that I like love.
I love Vertical Horizon. Well, you guys check out, I actually just recently did a cover of one of their songs.
What song?
Their, when you cry.
Okay, great.
Heaven knows that you're with me now. Heaven knows that you're here. I just did this really good cover of that. It's on YouTube.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, When You Cry. Yeah, check it out. So, no, I'm a big fan, but again, and I just went and looked up the Vertical Horizon guy, Matt Scannell. I mean, they had huge hits, right? Like, when you think, okay, let's look at this, like, Vertical Horizon. I'm sure there's other stuff that has to do with them. But Vertical Horizon, Matchbox 20, Third Eye Blind, and, like, Goo Goo Dolls all came out at the same time, right? Those were, like, the 4 bands, okay? So, 3 of them had great hair, the lead singers. 1 of them didn't. And now you look at, like, what happened with their career. Like, Rob Thomas, like, crazy, huge, long career, you know, Third Eye Blind, 3 huge albums, and they're still releasing albums and still, like, pretty popular. Goo Goo Dolls, a bunch of popular albums, like, all that stuff. And, like, that Vertical Horizon album was as good or better as any of those other 3 albums. That first,
agree.
you know, Go album. But, like, nothing real. Like, he now has, I think, like 12,000 Instagram followers. Because I tagged him when I posted my cover. Like, virtually nothing for being like you know, that song was the most played song of the year, Everything You Want, when it came out.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it has a lot to do with the fact he's bald. Like, if he had amazing hair, I think they probably would have had a couple more popular albums.
You know, I mean, if we want to play this game, you know, the hair conspiracy theory, I mean, I would say that Goo Goo Dolls, the main singer, had the best hair of all. Still the most active band out of all of them. Rob Thomas, probably second best. You know, second longest career. I don't know. Who's to know?
You think about him and you think of, like, that whole charismatic front guy, like Matt Scannell, never a popular solo album, right? But Rob Thomas, like, hugely popular solo album as well. So it's just, it's a different thing, and it's a weird kind of, like, visual fertility deal. And, you know, you and I have talked about Elton John as well, and, like, the way that he's come back, like, in an iconic way. He's still very much thought of that way, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he put on a hair system or a wig or whatever, and that's how we think of Elton John. We think of him as this old guy with this shaggy hair. I don't think he would have had the continued huge career that he did into his 70s or so if he had just maintained the 100% bald look, you know? I mean, the same thing, like James Taylor, bald, right? James Taylor had great hair when he was, like, the most popular, and he still had a successful career as a bald guy, but he's not iconic like Elton John. I'm thinking of, like, even the guys that you think of, like the Edge from U2, right? Bald guy, but, like, he wears a hat all the time, so we don't know him as a bald guy. Like, you cannot picture the Edge bald, like, in your mind, because he's always got the beanie cap thing on or some other kind of hat, you know? Like, it's literally, like, I'm a huge U2 fan, and, like, I can't even think of, I don't know if he's ever taken a picture bald, you know?
Yeah. Well, it stands to reason that, I mean, you know, you said something, the power of a hairline, and it sounds cheesy to anybody who has not experienced hair loss, but if you've experienced hair loss, not so cheesy. Feels very, very, very real. You know, I look back at the pictures of me before getting a hair system. It's the route I chose, as everybody on this channel knows, and completely feel different about myself. And I've like back then, I had so much insecurity. Like I was a very confident person as well, but in that aspect of my life, I just couldn't. It was like I couldn't get on top of it. It was perpetual, right? It's like having one of your insecurities completely visible for everyone to see on a day-to-day basis, unless you cover it with hats. And if you cover it with hats all the time, people know anyways, right? It's very weird. You can't hide it. You just can't hide it. So it's definitely not crazy, and it's definitely a real thing. I think everybody that watches this channel definitely agrees with that. So I kind of relate it. Sorry to step over you a little bit, but to actually, and I often kind of do this, to bad teeth. Mm-hmm.
You know, like bad teeth is a thing that, like, if you've got really crooked, messed up teeth, like, think how many like hugely popular actors are there with really messed up looking teeth? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there aren't. They don't exist. Like the most you're gonna get is maybe like a gap, you know, because it's just very obvious thing that's in people's face, and people just don't like that kind of like, I'm looking at you, but like something looks off. You know, it's not to say you can't have a successful life with bad teeth, but like, why would you not fix that if you can, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a very quick and easy way to learn that impressions and the way that you look does matter in this world, sadly. So guess what, guys? If we're going to be better men, if we're going to be the best we can be, go to a gym, start working out, start eating right. Take care of your hygiene, your skin, your hair. Do all these things that maybe don't feel like things that you want to do, because it's not going to just make you feel better. It will have a positive impact on how you are perceived, and how you are perceived influences how you get things done in the world, the opportunities you receive, women, relationships, business things, all across the board. Completely changes the game, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man, for jumping in and having this discussion and talking a little bit about your experience with hair transplants and how it's affected your life in a very real way, and, you know, through the funny stories, through your music career, and obviously successful relationships. You're married now. You've got another kid on the way, living the dream life that we all probably want to achieve. So congratulations for you for going out there, being brave in all aspects of your life, and really grabbing life by the horns.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and make sure you go check out the Muzio's channel.
Hair Loss Hope is the name of my channel that's all about hair stuff. So yeah, on that channel, I'll go through exactly the different types of hair transplants that I got done and all that. And it's not a perfect solution by any means, you know. I often actually think that if I had to do it over again, I probably would have tried a hair system first, just to kind of see what my hair would even look like, you know, beforehand. So I think that there's some validity to all that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching.
Thanks, guys. Take care.